Hey guys, quick one today. I just wanted to give you a few tips on what to look for if you've got any overflowing at your tank inlet. I thought I'd just run you through a few little things to look for, and that'll help you diagnose whether something needs cleaning, or maybe you can swap one element out for something else to help you give you a little bit better performance at your tank inlet to make sure water's not splashing out, landing around your foundations, making a mess around your tank, all that sort of stuff. So what we got here, the first step to look for, I would like to have a look at the overflow myself. It doesn't really matter which order you do these things in, but I'll start with the overflow. So one of the causes of water splashing out the top is because this fella here might be blocked up for some reason or another. Now the first thing to have a look for, have a look around here if there's something called a mozzie stopper. So I'll pull up here. A mozzie stopper looks something like this. It might look like this with a little tab. It might look like this, just sort of like this big removable thing. This happens to be ours. Um, but they, some of them, they tend not to be glued in because it's important that you can clean them from time to time because they can get little bits of biofilm, little bits of swath or debris, like just stuff on them. So what you can do, sometimes if you try and knock that pipe out a bit, firmly but gently, you'll find that quite often that will end up, you know, you'll be able to bend that out a little bit like that. And if there's a mozzie stopper there, pull it out. They'll typically be removable. Give it a backwash, give it a brush off, see if that might be the cause of your issue. You might be lucky enough to have one with a little spring-loaded screen or a little removable cartridge. Makes things heaps easier. You don't have to bash anything. It's heaps better. Uh, Also, what you might want to do is follow that pipe down to wherever it goes, and see at the end of there, your mozzie stopper or flat valve might be down there. Just make sure it's not blocked. If you want to see if there's a blockage in the line, also you can get a hose. Sorry for drawing all over this. You can get a hose, jam it in there, turn the hose on, go to wherever that water's supposed to be coming out, and that'll give you an indication whether something unusual is going on. So that helps to fix the overflow. Um, I should note as well, it's important that the overflow is sized appropriately. This one, uh, it's hard to see now because I've scribbled over the thing, but typically it should be the same size or bigger than your inlet. So we won't worry about that too much at the moment. We're just sort of going to diagnose the issue first, and then we can figure out how to sort those other issues out later. Next thing, I'll go here. Sounds pretty straightforward. Have a look at your tank inlet. So if your tank strainer has got bits of small or big, whatever debris in there, take it out, give it a backwash, give it a clean, see if that helps solve the problem. It might be that we might decide to swap that tank screen out for something which requires a little bit less maintenance, but at least if you do this, you're going to get a pretty good idea about whether this is one or the only cause. You can see on this tank here, whoops, I shouldn't draw in black because you can't really see it, but you can see that there's a couple of screws holding that down. So in this case, all you have to do, unscrew that, take it out. You'll be able to slide it out from under the inlet pipe there. Give it a backwash, put it back in, see how it goes. Hopefully there's some improved performance. If not, you can always swap that product out and put something a little bit more high performing in. So that's the second one, the tank inlet itself. Another thing to look for, which could be an easy fix, if you can see here, the tank inlet here has got like this 45-degree bend on there. It could be the case that if you turn that into a 90-degree bend, that might end up solving some of your issues. So, because you can imagine when the water comes out of there, it is going to have the opportunity to bounce out if the water level is really high. In this tank, you could end up with a relatively high water level because it overflows quite close to the top, which is okay because it maximizes the tank's volume. The downside is sometimes if it's really raining heavy, sometimes the water can bounce off there, but it doesn't really matter where that is, really. But check that angle, and if it's at a 45er, maybe an easy solution is to pull that fella off, put on a 90-degree one instead. It might mean you've got to chop something, or you might, if you've got space, you might be able to get another 45er. Just check if it's got a spigot or a socket fitting, that is like a male or female fitting, and just get the appropriate one, and you'll be able to slip that on, like no glue or anything, and see if it sorts the problem out. And that can be a really easy fix, and that'll get you running a bit more smoothly again. If it turns out that you might find that when you clean this thing, when you clean the tank screen out, it performs way better. And you might go, I don't want to clean this thing like all the time because that's a real pain. So I'll show you a couple of products of ours which might be useful. You might want to change to a screen like this, which has got a bit of mesh and stuff around the outside. That is great because water can like flow out the sides a bit more effectively as well. So that obviously is that's gonna decrease your splashing because water can just like escape out of there super quick. Nice one here. It's got this, fancy inlet cover on top. So it means that you can cut one or two, however many inlets you've got, cut one or two of those holes out, jam your pipes coming in there. Make sure you got to sort of align it in such a way that you can still take all these things out to clean it. But if you've got that cover on, and if you've got this where water can escape out, water ain't going to splash out of there. Like, it'll be fine. This one's nice. It's got like a ring on there, where this tank screen snaps into it really easily. So it means that when you do go and clean it, you don't need a screwdriver, nothing like that. You can just come up, unclip the thing, give it a backwash, away you go. Or something like this is also, pretty appropriate. The tank screen 360. Again, I'm showing you some of our products just because we know they function really nicely. It's got these really high walls on it. You can see here, it's sort of a little bit hard to see, but it's got mesh all the way around the sides. We jack the height up, and that helps give you sort of like a bit more effective mesh area, really. It can chew up tons of water. Doesn't matter if there's debris in there. Heaps of water is going to flow through there. It's not going to splash or at least really, really minimize splashing. It is a step up from this guy just because it's got that extra mesh area. Performs really nicely. If you want to go next level up, go Rolls-Royce option. There's something like this. It's a Maelstrom with the shark cage. There we go. We've got a nice illustration of it there. It's a semi sort of self-cleaning filter. The one advantage with this, it doesn't splash because it's got this lid on top. So obviously it's a bit more self-contained. The mesh that it's got is, it's about 180 micron thereabouts, which is about 1/5 the size of these other guys. So if you reckon that your tank could do with a bit of boost in quality as well, and you've got the budget, this one might be the option for you. If you want to install one of these other versions, whether it's the low version or the high version, they're both going to work wonderfully well. And depending on your setup, one or both of them might be easy to install. So have a think about what's easy to install, make it easy for yourself. They've all three of these things are really easy to clean. You don't need screws for any of them. Maelstrom, you just take the lid off, pull the filter out, and the other two things, the tank screen 360, you just clip it off, give it a backwash. This guy, you just clip it off, give it a backwash too. That's your inlet. Now, if you find that it's your mozzie stopper, which is causing you grief, or there's some sort of blockage in there, one thing to think about is, I should have opened these up first. You might decide that you want to replace this guy here, just a classic one. You might decide to replace it with this one, which has got a nice handle. The only advantage there, really, is you can pull that out and give it a tap out, give it a backwash every month, 2 months, year, whatever it might be. You'll get the feel for what's going on, but that helps your overflow work a bit better. Next step up from that, we've got these other versions, which we call the max flow. I call it the anaconda because it sort of looks like, it's sort of swollen in the middle there, like an anaconda that's eaten something. But the idea there is it gives you a really big mesh area, so heaps of water can flow through. So if you find your overflow is a thing that needs a bit of work, or if you think that's what you need to resolve, have a think about one of these options. Otherwise, get in touch. We can chat you through it, have a talk through it with you. Send us a few pictures and we can help you sort of resolve it and figure out the best way forward. Thanks.